3 years ago today, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. There is still no consensus on the origins of the virus that has killed nearly 7 million people worldwide, including more than 1 million Americans. The question is back in the spotlight in Washington. The House yesterday unanimously approved a bill to declassify U.S. intelligence information on the origins of the coronavirus. The Senate passed it earlier, and the legislation now goes to President Biden's desk. It is not clear yet whether or not he will sign it. The president told reporters yesterday that he hasn't made that decision yet. A theory that the virus may have escaped from a lab in China has been a heated issue of this debate since early on in the pandemic. U.S. intelligence agencies are split on that. And joining us now to talk about this is Dr. Anthony Fauci. He served as President Biden's chief medical advisor and headed the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for decades, including under former President Trump. Dr. Fauci, good to see you as always. Thanks so much for being with us. President Biden, I guess you probably heard, said he hasn't decided whether he will sign this legislation. You were once his chief medical advisor. Would you advise him to do it?
Well, Jim, I don't want to be advising him when I'm not in that position right now. I'm sure he's going to make the right decision. One thing we can say, we'd like to learn as much as we possibly can about information that hopefully will be available. You know, there's this two sides. You know, one group says it more likely is one or the other. I must say that we all must keep an open mind, Jim, about this for sure, because nothing has been definitively proven. The thing that's important is that if you look at the available data, not just surmising or tweeting or guessing, but just look at the data, a fairly large group of very well-respected evolutionary virologists have examined epidemiological, virological, geospatial data from Wuhan and have come to the conclusion, not definitively by any means, but feeling that it is much more likely that it is a natural occurrence from an animal to a human. However, since it hasn't been definitively proven, we've got to keep a completely open mind. That being the case, we want to know arguments or information or data on either sides. And that's the reason why, as you mentioned in the top of your discussion a little bit ago, we really need to get all the facts so that we can prevent this from happening again in the future. So my feeling would be, Jim,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I say my feeling would be, instead of arguing back and forth, why don't we do the things that need to be done to prevent this from happening again, regardless of what the origin was. If the origin was a lab leak, we've got to make sure we shore up the safety procedures that are done when people in labs are working with pathogens. And if it's an origin from the natural occurrence, we've got to make sure we pay much more attention to the animal-human interface and put restrictions on the kinds of animals that come into these wet markets, particularly in China and in Southeast Asia. Those are the things we should be concentrating on.
But simply put, you're not opposed to the intelligence community putting that information out there, as long as you're not jeopardizing sources and methods and that sort of standard thing.
Right. You know, I mean, obviously, you want to get as much information. If there have been recent, as you know, recent discussions that the Department of Energy has first said that they didn't think it was a lab leak, and now with low confidence, they're saying that it's a lab. I don't know what low confidence means, Jim, and I think that's what's confusing people, and that's the reason why we really got to get down to the bottom of this.
Yeah, do you think that was a mistake for the Department of Energy to put out that kind of conclusion, a conclusion with low confidence? Did that muddy the waters in your view?
No, Jim, I don't want to be criticizing agencies. I mean, I'll stay away from that. That's not helpful.
Well, let me ask you about another agency, and I know you've already had some discussions about this, but former CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield, your former colleague in the Trump administration, has accused you of excluding him from a conference call in early 2020 that included a discussion on whether COVID may have stemmed from some sort of lab leak. Just to get that on the record, what is your response to that?
Yeah, that's unfortunate, Jim. I have already commented on that, but I'll set the record straight for you here. And that's completely unequivocally incorrect. And I'm really sorry he came to that conclusion. Someone may have told him that. I had nothing to do and no choice about who would be on or not on that phone call. And at a public hearing, it's unfortunate he accused me of excluding him for reasons that I didn't agree with what his conclusion would be, but nothing about that makes sense, Jim. As a fact, and you could ask any of a number of people on the call, that I didn't exclude him because I had no say as to who was on the call. And secondly, his concern about being excluded because his idea disagreed with mine, we had half the people on the call agreed that it might be a lab leak. So the rationale that he puts forth for being excluded doesn't make any logical sense because half the people on the call didn't agree with that. So I'm not so sure what he's talking about. It's unfortunate that he made that statement publicly because it's not true.
And that conference call that was in question, that apparently was tackled at this House subcommittee hearing this past week. Were you invited to appear at that hearing?
I was not. I have not been invited yet to appear at the hearings. I suspect that I will be. I think it would be a good idea to hear from all sides, but I have not yet been invited to appear before a congressional hearing recently. I've done many before, but with this particular topic, I have not.
And I know you've supported the theory, we were just talking about this, that the virus came from natural causes instead of a lab leak. You've said you're open to the evidence wherever it goes. Has your thinking on this evolved at all? Did you start off as, oh no, it's definitely natural causes, and now you're thinking, well, maybe it might be a lab leak?
You know, Jim, I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process. What has changed over months to a year or more is what I mentioned a bit ago, namely that as evolutionary virologists went into this deeper and deeper and analyzed it from a number of standpoints, epidemiologically, virologically, geospatially, they wrote two very important, well-written, peer-reviewed papers in Science magazine, strongly suggesting that in fact it was a natural occurrence from an animal to a human. But strongly suggesting, Jim, doesn't nail it down definitively. And that's the reason why I say to this day, I will keep a completely open mind as to what the origin is.
And on this theory of a lab leak, I've been wondering this, do we have any idea how that would even work? Have you heard any accounts as to how that might have happened? Is there speculation in the scientific community as to how that happened?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Jim. So one of the things that people maybe don't fully appreciate, that all of the intelligence agencies agree unanimously that this was not engineered. Namely, they didn't deliberately do this to make a bioweapon. Everybody agrees with that. No matter what your prior thoughts were, everybody agrees with that. A lab leak could be that someone was out in the wild, maybe looking for different types of viruses in bats, got infected, went into a lab, and was being studied in the lab, and then it came out of the lab. But if that's the definition of a lab leak, Jim, then that still is a natural occurrence. The other possibility is someone takes a virus from the environment that doesn't actually spread very well in humans and manipulates it a bit, and accidentally it escapes or accidentally infects someone, and then you get an outbreak. Those are the possibilities when you're talking about lab leaks.
But are there any accounts of that occurring where one might say, okay, well, there we go. Perhaps this is it. This is what happened.
No.
That you're aware of.
In fact, there are no lab leaks that have led to pandemics. So there have been accidents in a lab that happens intermittently. We've had experiences with that in modern times recently, but there have never been a situation where a virus escaped from a lab that's a brand new virus that no one has ever seen before that led to a pandemic. That has not happened.